Laszlo Toth, a brilliant architectural artist who migrated to the United States to escape the atrocities of World War II, endures relentless hardship until destiny entwines his path with that of a wealthy industrialist who provides him the opportunity of his lifetime, but at a very high cost. Before delving into the film's crucial aspects, I'll take a brief moment for the writing of this film. The story revolves around Laszlo's life, who is a visionary architect who has done some exceptional work in his hometown, which stands there still firmly, enduring even the harshest of crises. He is truly an artist in his field and designs the architecture in a way that excites the art admirers like esteemed Harrison Van Buren.
I don't just appreciate it, Mr. Toth. I cherish it.
But his personal life is miserable and filled with tragedies, where the people whom he trusted the most became the architects of his deepest wounds. The scene that resonated with me the most was the one where they journey into the mountains to select the perfect marble for the grand edifice. I appreciate the writer's imagination in constructing this scene where they climb the mountain, reaching amidst the clouds where the marble rests. The whole setting felt really meditative and therapeutic, as if they had visited heaven itself, where art and divinity intertwines. I found it layered and well thought in the portrayals of characters. As time unfolds, creative differences arise between the characters regarding the project due to finance, tragedies, and sometimes just hate. And their dialogues too were masterfully written. They seem ordinary on the surface, but they were more than what meets the ears.
I can come back. Shh. Before I lose it, dreams slip away. Yes, I know.
Jim Simpson mentioned he hadn't been on site since last Friday.
Shame.
Yes. A terrible shame.
1.66 to 1 aspect ratio, combined with an array of premium camera bodies and lenses, adequate contrast, subdued vibrance, and Vista Vision's antique film look, makes the image extremely aesthetic and classy. The shadows are softened by a subtle fade effect, while maintaining a bold contrast that enriches the visual depth. Also, the image has inferior quality and noticeable grain, with specks of negative dirt flickering across the frame, gives the film the look that it seeks to represent, which is the 50s era. And hence, in today's day and age, when studios and mainstream filmmakers relentlessly pursue hyper-detailed imagery, the Brutalist embraces regressive and traditional imagery, which makes it stand out than any other films. And all of this was possible because of the production company, which is known for its unconventionality. While every shot of this film feels like a cinematic masterpiece, there's always something to take away from those shots. But for today, let's focus on the ones that truly matter. The interplay of aperture and depth of field, paired with the raw energy of shaky camera movement, is a prominent art film technique used in many films. The camera sometimes takes such unconventional routes which will bend your mind, or sometimes simply just lets things happen in front of it while sitting steady at a place. Hence, the camera work feels like mixture of simplicity and dynamism. I found it fascinating how they used the camera from the 70s to depict a setting from the same decade, and that quality difference hits hard. The entry of Harrison Van Buren is dramatically amplified by a high-altitude zoom, slowly descending upon his car, and all the shots which cover the traveling of vehicles are shot in ways which support the spooky vibe of the film. This might be especially because of the camera's low-angle setting and wide-angle lens, distorting the image, making it more uncanny. Casting light through the drapes and leaving the abstract design on the wall was a natural yet strikingly effective lighting choice. And speaking of lighting, in this scene where Laszlo is getting hurt by Attila, throughout the whole scene, Attila resides in the shadows, which is definitely a waste of an actor's potential. But the absence of his face only heightens the suspense, which works astoundingly from a filmmaking perspective. And here, where they have taken an unnatural liberty of positioning an unseen light just beyond the frame, so its glare would uplift the charm of the frame, was just gorgeous. Now, let's dive into the highlighting and my absolute favorite aspect of this film, color psychology. In the beginning, when Laszlo visits the study with Attila for the first time, they are bathed in an ominous red glow. Then we cut to the background, where we see these tall red curtains illuminating red everywhere in the study. This wasn't a mere aesthetic choice. The production team deliberately selected red, as the red symbolizes danger, perfectly hinting at the dark turn of events yet to unfold. And then this party scene where they've soaked the room with orange, a color which is a symbol of positivity and enthusiasm, leaves an impression on your subconscious mind which supports the mood of the scene. Hence, this film is a masterclass in visual storytelling. The second most highlighting aspect of the film was its scene blocking. There are few shots where actors are just standing in front of the camera doing their scene, but then there are some which are worthy of compliments, like this one, forming an invisible triangle in the audience's eye movement, which again, aesthetically looks wonderfully composed. Then this one, where Harrison is gazing through the window and we see Laszlo's niece and wife heading somewhere. The way this frame is composed immediately tells us that there is something unsettling about it, without even knowing the context. And here, where they are clicking a photograph for the inauguration of the project, we see Laszlo's niece standing on the edge of the frame. Such considerations about scene blocking as well is what makes the cinematography of this film a masterpiece, thus concluding that the cinematography of this film is so ostentatious that it overshadows the writing itself. And this painting-like film, brushed onto an aged canvas called Vista Vision, is the epitome of the phrase, "It's not about what you tell, it's about how you tell it." There are a total of 985 shots in this film, and 14 of them are really long one takes. There are also many B-rolls featuring carpentry and construction, which are used extensively. Editorially, this film has its unconventionality, where abrupt cuts are quite frequent. Creativity is also a part of it, where they show Philadelphia of that era through its state map with old footages. And this crossfade transition here, it's not just transitioning from one footage to another. At 50% opacity, they cut to the footage where Laszlo is leaning forward on the railing, and then the transition completes. This film is very artsy, where they take their own sweet time to cut the shot and move on. This pacing allows each shot to breathe, inviting the audience to fully absorb every moment rather than rushing ahead. But if you are someone who scrolls short-form content on social media, this approach will test your patience. The flickering slow-motion cutaways in the dining scenes work like charm. They mimic the natural rhythm of real-life observation, because in reality, we don't just fixate on the person speaking. Our eyes wander here and there, observing our surroundings. And hence, these cuts make the conversation feel more organic and also establishes the setting of the fancy event that we are witnessing. Also, I felt that this scene where Laszlo is praying in the house of worship while something ominous quietly takes shape, brilliantly edited. The prayer singing in the background elevates the suspicion even further. The editing also has this habit of cutting to the next scene before giving away any answers of the previous one, which feels like we are left hanging on a hook. However, the answers eventually unfold later, creating a sense of intrigue and delayed gratification, which was a nice way of keeping mystery to the film. The background score is a fascinating blend of catharsis and haunting ominous. The use of it as well is pretty unconventional. Listen to this gargling background score. Multiple times old songs are just playing in the background, immersing the audience in the era they represent. I found it intriguing how they have used the sound of the pendulum of the clock to create suspense, which also adds a layer to sound design. On the dining table, where Laszlo is asked about his past, which is a painful question for him, there is opera vocal in the background, which amplifies the drama of his response. and thus the background score flows effortlessly through most of the film, which makes it like a sweet companion to the film who doesn't bother us at all. It's so subtle that you don't even realize it's in the background, but still does its magic without demanding notice. That's how scores should be at the end of the day, felt rather than heard. Now, I am not worthy of commenting on the acting of the actors in this film. All I will say is that not once have I seen actors sharing such a level of intimacy in a film, especially Adrian Brody, who has done a marvelous job, and Guy Pearce, who has kept a subtle layer of ego in his body language, has delivered a terrific performance amongst the other actors. Calling any good film great or bad is unfair, as art is subjective. But this film is for the ones who want to watch something artsy and experience a feel of gloomy catharsis. Trust me, this one will penetrate your mind with its finesse craft.
It's over.